Hello one and all, as always I am Cosmic, and today we're going to be reviewing 2D action role-playing game Aurion Legacy of the Aurion. Now Aurion was developed by Cameroonian developer Kirio Games, in which they completed a successful Kickstarter campaign in 2015 to finish off their development. The game draws heavily from African culture, myths and lore, and the mechanics themselves are inspired by games such as the Tales series. The game places you in the role of Enzo Aurion, the Prince of Zama, whose brother-in-law stages a coup on his coronation and wedding day. After saving your wife Irene, you must head off to fight your brother-in-law and other enemies to save the people of Zama and rescue the land with the help of Enzo's power of the Aurion, which is collective energy of his ancestors that he can summon at will in the midst of battle. Now, like I said, this game takes heavy influence from African mythology, which is something that's rarely seen in many video games. It provides a unique and interesting setting that is really a breath of fresh air from the traditional fantasy setting tropes. The entire game has a feeling of Dragon Ball Z mixed with games like the Tales series and other 2D fighters, and it really creates some of the most kick-ass African characters I've ever seen in video games. I wanted to start off with the graphics and the sound of the game. I love the art style of Aurion. It's well designed, vibrant, and really stands out. Each location you visit looks distinctive. The audio side of things from what's there works very well. However, I feel the inclusion of voice acting throughout the game would have been something that would have been very worthwhile for this game. And I don't mean English voice acting either. I think a great aesthetical touch would have been to have the entire thing done in a native African language such as Mbele or Baka, and it would have really added something really interesting and a really nice touch to the whole game. Control wise, Aurion straight from the start recommends the use of a gamepad, and I have to agree. The gamepad layout is much more intuitive than the keyboard setup, and playing solely mouse and keyboard can get very frustrating. On the gamepad, the controls are easy to use. When you're not in combat, Aurion has you exploring the wonderful landscapes, talking to people, finding the odd consumables, and even some platforming elements. The movement system works very well with the thumbstick, and it's what you would expect from a 2D game. The world design is really great and certainly complements the fantasy African setting. Everything is vibrant and eye-catching, which makes the exploration fairly enjoyable. The combat, however, is where the heart of the game mechanics lie. Aurion uses a real-time combo-based system that revolves around timing combos, dodging, blocking attacks and using abilities. Aurion's combat system is designed well, although I do feel the tempo could have been upped somewhat. Combat system has the great characteristic of being simple to pick up but having a surprising amount of depth. Characters have pools for health, action points and stamina. Some abilities use AP, others require stamina. There's a great selection of abilities and more to unlock as you progress, but the fun lies in the Aurion system. Calling upon the ancestors, your character can enter an Aurion form, basically like going Super Saiyan, and use powerful abilities for a select time until your AP runs out. In this form, you can also overcharge your Aurion power at the expense of health to use an ultimate Aurion ancestral attack that is absolutely devastating to enemies. As you progress in the game, you'll unlock different Aurions, and you can switch them out or even combine them to create something new and even more powerful. The combat in the game is a lot of fun, and while some enemies are somewhat lackluster in their AI, others are quite tough to overcome and will require a keen understanding of the combat system to beat, particularly the boss fights. While you play for the most part as Enzo, his wife will be at your side in battle too, and you can activate her abilities, which are support healing spells, with a few buttons, essentially allowing you to control two characters, giving you access to even more options to take on enemies. On the technical side of things, the game is in an okay state and it does run well at 60 frames per second. However, I did encounter several crashes, which was annoying. Thankfully, the game does have an autosave feature, so I didn't lose hours and hours of progress. As you kill enemies, you'll gain experience points, and every so often your character will level up. The progression system is fairly standoff, and you don't actually have to do anything in terms of leveling up stats or anything like that. It's a very simple progression system that only really gets interesting once you start unlocking new Aurions and new abilities to swap out. As you go through the game, you'll be able to purchase new equipment from vendors that do have a pretty dramatic effect on your character's stats. You're able to equip both Enzo and Irene as you see fit, and you're able to sell off your old equipment. Vendors will also carry a selection of other items such as consumables for combat. The game world is fairly large and there's plenty to explore. There is a good amount of hours to be put into Aurion, and I quite like that they've fleshed out a decently long narrative. I do finally want to talk about the story and the overall narrative. Now, Aurion's story and setting offers something unique and interesting, and the overall narrative is pretty good. That being said, however, I do like Aurion's story. It does tell an interesting story, and the unique setting alone is something that pretty much kept me going a lot of the way through it. So the time's come to what is going to be my recommendation, and I'm going to say buy it if you like it, and if you like the look of it and you enjoy similar games in this style, yes, go and buy it.
Do you want to know more about this world? Embark on our rich saga on PC, Xbox, mobile, and dive deeper with graphic novel. We offer you a free volumes on our websites, aurionverse.com. Remember to follow us to learn more and share if you love it.